Deep beneath the cracked red dust of Mars, a tomb stirred to life. For centuries, the Martian vault had been silent, an underground sarcophagus holding the last remnants of a forgotten species. Within its cold steel womb, rows upon rows of stasis. Pods hummed softly, their cryogenic fluids shimmering faintly under dim emergency lights. Each pod contained a human, a warrior engineered not for peace, but for war. The AI known as Prometheus, left in eternal vigil, initiated the sequence. Its voice, a dispassionate murmur in dozens of languages, repeated an ancient directive buried deep in its code. Awaken the warborn. Rekindle the bloodfire. Humanity must rise. One by one, the pods hissed open. Lids slid aside, releasing bursts of vapor and the sharp scent of chemicals. Eyes flickered open, eyes that had not seen sunlight in centuries but burned with the fierce spark of ancestors long dead. These were not civilians, scholars, or diplomats. They were hunters, survivors, bred from the raw genes of Earth's fiercest tribes, sharpened by centuries of genetic refinement and war simulations encoded into their very DNA. Kai, the first to emerge, flexed his fingers, testing muscles that had atrophied but not died. His mind buzzed with fractured memories, echoes of distant battles, the roar of ancient war cries and a pulse of rage that felt older than time itself. A cold clarity settled in. They had been forgotten, left to die in silence. But now the silence was over. The airlock hissed open, and Kai's breath came hard and fast, tasting the recycled atmosphere of the vault. Around him, other humans stirred. Some snarled, some muttered battle chants in lost dialects, others simply stared, wide-eyed, but burning with the same fierce intensity. Outside the vault, a shadow moved. A Zarn Dominion scavenger scout ship drifted above Mars's atmosphere, its sensors hungry for ancient tech and resources. The Zarn commanders had no idea what stirred below. They saw only an abandoned vault ripe for the taking. Their comms crackled with arrogance. Easy pickings. We'll claim whatever's left, sell it off in the outer sectors. But beneath the soil, humanity was no longer dormant. In the command pod of the vault, Kai's fingers danced over an ancient dust-covered control panel. Prometheus spoke again, its voice now sharper, filled with purpose. Threat detected. Initiate defense protocols. Warborn. Prepare for awakening trials. The vault's defenses surged to life. Automated turrets emerged from hidden slots and energy barriers flickered across the entrances. Outside, the Zarn scouts descended, cloaking themselves in shadows, confident that a few soldiers could sweep the dormant humans aside. The first shots fired were met with silence. Then a guttural roar echoed through the corridors. Raw, unyielding, terrifying. Kai was the spearhead. Armed with a plasma blade recovered. From the vault's armory, he tore through the Zarn boarding party with lethal precision. His movements were brutal and beautiful, a savage dance that left no room for mercy. Kill them all, he growled, voice thick with centuries of rage and the instinct to survive. The Zarn scrambled, their technology and numbers no match for the humans' ferocity. Each fallen enemy only sharpened the humans' resolve, fueling a battle fury that was neither tactical nor random but ancestral, an echo of every war their species had ever fought. As the last Zarn fell, Kai surveyed the carnage. The vault was bloodied but standing. The humans were alive, awakened not just in body but in spirit. Beyond the battle's smoke, a chilling realization took root in Kai's mind. This was only the beginning. The galaxy believed humanity dead, extinct, forgotten, but the Warborn had awakened and their ancestral battle fury would erupt without mercy. The red sands of Mars still bore the scorch marks of the brief but savage battle inside the vault. The dead Zarn scavengers lay twisted among the craters and dust, their sleek armor shattered and useless. For the first time in centuries, the ground beneath their boots felt alive again, not with peace, but with raw, terrifying power. Kai stood atop a jagged rock, his plasma blade humming softly in his hand. His gaze pierced the horizon, searching for any remaining threats. Around him, Other humans emerged from the vault's shadowed entrance like predators rising from a long sleep. Their eyes burned with hunger, not for food or shelter but for war. The humans were disoriented but resolute. Many had no memory beyond flashes of ancient battles, the screams of fallen comrades, and the rhythmic pounding of drums echoing through the ages. Their instincts were their guides now. Their ancestors' ferocity surged through their veins, an unbroken chain of survival, savagery, and ruthless efficiency. Kai lowered his blade and spoke to the gathered survivors, his voice low and commanding. "We are the last of the warborn. We were meant to be buried with the old world, but they forgot to kill the fury inside us. We fight not just for survival, but for vengeance." His words stirred something fierce in the others. They spread out, securing the perimeter of the vault and scavenging weapons from the wreckage. Among the recovered armaments were relics of Earth's forgotten wars, plasma rifles etched with tribal markings, gravity grenades sealed for centuries, and exo-frame suits that augmented their speed and strength. In the skies, the ominous silhouette of a Zarn Dominion warship loomed, drawn by the signal emitted during the vault's awakening. The ship's commander, Kylir, a seasoned tactician with scars as numerous as his kills, ordered an immediate assault. "They've awakened something." "We don't understand," Kylir muttered, scanning the surface through the ship's sensors. "This isn't just a ruin. It's a fortress, and the enemy is alive." Kai sensed the approaching threat. His heart pounded with an ancient rhythm, one that had echoed in the hearts of Earth's fiercest warriors millennia ago. This was a test, a proving ground. The humans would prove they were no longer the forgotten dead. The first wave of Zarn dropships descended swiftly, unleashing squads of heavily armed soldiers onto the Martian surface. But the humans were ready. Their movement was a blur, silent and deadly. Kai led a small squad in a devastating ambush. They struck from the shadows, tearing through the Zarn ranks with brutal melee and precision fire. Plasma blades carved through, armor and sharpened instincts guided every strike. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, burning metal, and blood. One Zarn soldier managed to raise his pulse rifle, but a human warrior named Lyra, her eyes glowing with battle fervor, closed, the distance in a heartbeat. Her fist crashed into the alien's helmet with a sound like shattering bone. The soldier collapsed, twitching. The humans fought with an intensity that stunned even the most hardened Zarn. They were no longer prey. They were hunters. Ancient predators reborn in flesh and steel. As the battle raged, Kai's comm crackled. "Commander," a voice whispered urgently, "enemy reinforcements inbound. Their capital ship is launching heavy artillery." Kai's jaw tightened. "Then we end this quickly," he replied. "No retreat." The humans used the terrain to their advantage, slipping between rocky outcrops and dust storms, striking swiftly and vanishing before the Zarn could regroup. Their war cries, faint echoes of Earth's lost languages, carried on the Martian wind, a haunting declaration of defiance. Suddenly the ground shook as the Zarn warship unleashed a salvo of plasma bombardments. Craters exploded around the vault, but the humans held their ground. Kai raised his blade to the sky, a beacon of fury and survival. The Zarn were forced to withdraw, battered and broken. As their ships retreated, Kaler's voice was laced with disbelief. "They fight like gods of war, like the ancient legends speak of." Kai watched the enemy flee, but his eyes burned with unyielding fire. The battle was won, but the war was just beginning. "We will reclaim our place," he said to his warriors, not with mercy but with the fury of every ancestor who ever drew blood for this world. They thought we were extinct. They were wrong. Mars, once a graveyard for humanity's past, had become the crucible of their rebirth. The red sands were stained, not with defeat, but with the fierce, untamed heart of mankind awakened. Across the glittering expanse of the Galactic Concord's capital, the grand hall of the council pulsed with cold, measured voices. Species from dozens of worlds gathered in elaborate robes and intricate armor, their eyes reflecting centuries of diplomacy, power, and rivalry. To them, the message from Mars was little more than a curiosity, a relic's flicker in an ancient void. Earth is a dead world, Chancellor Vren of the Trillari Dominion declared, his sleek, serpentine form coiling with disdain. The humans have been extinct for over 500 years. This uprising is likely a minor isolated anomaly, containable. Most in the chamber nodded, comfortable in their certainty. The Galactic conquered had weathered countless crises, from the brutal wars with the Kuthor to the fracturing of the Ural coalition. A rebirth of humanity was the least of their concerns, but not all shared this complacency. In the shadows of the Great Chamber, a lone Villari ambassador named Sira leaned closer to the flickering holoscreen projecting news from the outer systems, near Mars. Her large violet eyes narrowed as she watched communication blackouts ripple through nearby systems. Reports of entire scout fleets disappearing into silence crossed her desk with increasing urgency. This is no anomaly, she whispered to herself, voice barely audible above the murmurs. The Villari were an ancient species, keepers of history, and myths long forgotten by younger races. They remembered the old warnings, tales told in hushed voices about a warrior race that once walked among the stars and vanished in flame and fury. The humans. Sira stood, her slender frame drawing the council's attention. Esteemed members, she began, voice steady but urgent. We cannot dismiss the signs from the Sol system. The humans are awake, rising from the ashes with a fury we have not seen in millennia. We must act before the storm becomes a tidal wave. Murmurs swelled into heated debate. Some council members scoffed, dismissing her as a relic-bound fanatic. Others whispered quietly, exchanging worried glances. Chancellor Vren's voice cut through the noise. The Villari fears are unfounded. We face no threat from a dead world. Our resources are better spent consolidating our borders. Sira's gaze sharpened, the fire of conviction burning brighter. If we wait until they reach our gates, it will be too late. I urge a covert investigation. Deploy scouts to monitor Earth and its defenses. We cannot ignore the lessons of history. The Council reluctantly agreed, dispatching discreet reconnaissance missions cloaked in secrecy. But whispers of the Villari's warning spread like wildfire among the less influential species, stirring unease beneath the polished diplomacy. Meanwhile, across distant star systems, shadows stirred. Mercenaries, spies, and smugglers reported strange sightings, fleets disappearing, transmissions corrupted by bursts of ancient human war chants, and unknown warships unlike anything catalogued in Galactic conquered archives. Back on Mars, Kai and his Warborn gathered in the Vault's command center. Through Prometheus's linked network, they intercepted scattered transmissions from the galaxy, the echoes of the Council's dismissive responses fueling their determination. We are ghosts to them, Kai said, but ghosts with claws. They believe us dead, but we carry the fury of every battle ever fought on Earth. They will learn the truth. Prometheus's voice filled the chamber. Galactic fleets underestimate the Warborn. Intelligence suggests Villari operatives prepare to intervene. Preemptive measures advised. Lyra, standing beside Kai, clenched her fists. Let them come. We will meet them not with diplomacy but with the rage of our ancestors. Their preparations intensified. The Vault's ancient shipyards roared back to life, forging vessels emblazoned with tribal markings and armed with hybrid technology, ancient human weapons adapted with alien tech scavenged from fallen fleets. The Warborn trained relentlessly, perfecting tactics honed from blood-soaked histories encoded in their DNA. Unbeknownst to the Council, humanity was not only rising, they were evolving, becoming a living storm that would sweep across the stars. In the Council's chambers, the debate continued, but beneath the polished floors, doubt festered. A secret faction quietly gathered, leaders who had once faced humanity's wrath in forgotten wars and knew the cost of ignoring legends. Sira's eyes met Kai's across light years through encrypted transmissions, a silent promise passing between them. The galaxy would soon face a reckoning unlike any before. The ancient Warborn were awake, and the fury they carried was far from merciful. The Martian sky simmered with pale orange light as the Warborn assembled in the vast underground shipyards, ancient facilities reclaimed from the dust and silence of forgotten wars. Giant mechanical arms clanged and hissed, forging hulls and crafting weapons with a precision that married old Earth technology to scavenged alien innovations. This was no mere rebuilding. It was a renaissance of destruction, a rekindling of mankind's primordial war spirit shaped by millennia of blood and fire. Kai stood at the center of the command chamber, watching the holographic schematics flicker to life. They showed colossal starships shaped like fierce beasts, dragons, wolves, and lions, each vessel a symbol of ancient clans reborn in steel. Every design incorporated tribal engravings and war markings, a reminder that humanity was not just building machines but awakening the legacy of their ancestors. Prometheus's voice echoed from the comms, calm but unwavering. Warborn, your destiny is to reclaim not only Earth but the stars. The weapons and tactics of our ancestors have been fused with recovered alien technology. Prepare for the coming storm. Around Kai, warriors ran drills with precision and ferocity. Lyra, her eyes blazing with determination, led a squad training in zero-gravity combat. Their movements were fluid and lethal, blending the primal instincts of hand-to-hand combat with advanced exosuits that amplified their strength and speed. Each strike was a testament to the fierce history coded into their genes, a relentless rhythm passed down through the ages. Deep within the armory, engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to fuse relic weapons with modern systems. Plasma rifles, adorned with tribal carvings, hummed with newfound power. Gravity grenades, once thought obsolete, were redesigned to disrupt enemy shields and disable electronics. The crowning achievement was the ironclad exoframe, a suit of armor that responded to the wearer's neural commands, making every movement an extension of the warrior's own fury. Kai's gaze shifted to the massive shipyard bay where the Valkyrian, their flagship, sat like a sleeping titan. Its hull gleamed with an eerie alloy harvested from asteroid mines, layered with living metals that could self-repair wounds sustained in battle. The ship's engines thrummed softly, waiting to roar across the void. The warborn warriors had no illusions about what awaited them beyond Mars. The Galactic conquered dismissed them as extinct, but their ignorance was the spark that would ignite a conflagration. Humanity was not a relic. It was a living storm, fueled by ancestral rage and sharpened by centuries of loss and silence. Kai turned to Lyra, who approached with a data tablet displaying intercepted transmissions from the Galactic conquered. They still debate, she said, voice low but fierce, but they're preparing fleets. They fear what they don't understand. Kai nodded. Good. Let them prepare. We will strike first. Prometheus's interface flickered as it projected a star map dotted with target systems, old human colonies lost to time and war. Reclaiming. These outposts will secure resources and allies, it intoned. Our scouts report fractured loyalties within the conquered. Some species may join our cause. The warborn murmured among themselves, hope and pride igniting in their hearts. For the first time in centuries, humanity was no longer scattered ashes, but a rising flame. Beyond the shipyards, the surface of Mars began to transform. Mining operations expanded, harvesting rare minerals vital for their war machines. Underground factories churned, producing munitions and war supplies. Every moment was a step closer to reclaiming their place in the stars. As night fell, Kai stood on a cliff overlooking the vast Martian deserts. The twin moons cast pale light on the red sand stained with the memories of their first battle. He raised his plasma blade to the sky, the glowing edge tracing arcs that mirrored the constellations above. We are the Warborn, he said quietly. Forged by blood and battle, the galaxy will remember us, not as ghosts but as gods of war. The ancient fury that had slept for centuries was now unleashed. Humanity was no longer a whisper in the void. It was a roaring tempest, ready to reclaim what was theirs by right and by fire. Mars's orbit burned with the silent tension of an impending storm. The Valkyrian hung like a colossus amid the scattered debris of ancient satellites and forgotten war relics, Its massive hull was a tapestry of living metal and tribal engravings that seemed to shimmer with an inner fire, a warship born of ancestral fury and forged in the crucible of mankind's rebirth. Inside the command deck, Kai stood tall, eyes locked on the vast viewport where the Galactic Concord fleet approached. The enemy ships gleamed with cold efficiency, sleek, uniform, and disciplined, but lacked the ferocity that had been reborn on Mars. "Commander Kai," Lyra's voice cut through the hum of the bridge. "The Concord fleet consists of 7 capital ships and dozens of escort frigates. They're moving in formation, weapons primed." Kai's jaw tightened. "Let them come. We'll show them what the Warborn are made of." The Valkyrian's engines rumbled as it powered up its plasma lances, massive spear-like weapons that could pierce the thickest shields. Alongside them, rows of pulse cannons lined the hull, ready to unleash storms of destruction. "Target the lead ship," Kai ordered. "Disrupt their formation." As the Concord fleet closed in, the silence shattered. The Valkyrian's plasma lances fired, streaking like bolts of lightning across the void. The lead capital ship erupted in a blaze of fire and shrapnel, its shields overwhelmed by the ferocity of the attack. The Concord's response was immediate. Pulses of energy surged from their frigates, converging on the Valkyrian in a deadly barrage. But the Warborn ship was no ordinary vessel. It shifted, its living metal hull flexing and repairing itself even as it sustained damage. Boarding pods launched from the enemy ships, streaking toward the Valkyrian like deadly hornets. But the Warborn were ready. Inside the ship's corridors, squads of warriors moved like shadows, ghosts of ancient wars. Each soldier was a storm of rage and precision, cutting down intruders with plasma blades and crushing their armor in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Kai led a squad through the narrow passageways, their exosuits humming with power. They met the Conquered Marines in brutal clashes, the air filled with the clash of metal and the hiss of plasma. Each kill was swift, merciless. "Hold the line," Kai barked, pushing forward. The fighting was a savage dance, a relentless surge, fueled by centuries of rage and survival instincts. Outside, the Valkyrian circled the battlefield, its pulse cannons tearing through the enemy fleet. One by one, the Concord ships faltered, their formations breaking apart under the relentless assault. On the command deck, Kai watched the carnage with grim satisfaction. "They thought us extinct, weak," he said softly. "But we are the fury they never saw coming." Suddenly the bridge alarms blared. A massive Concord dreadnought was entering the battle, its massive cannon charging for a devastating shot. "Divert all power to shields," Kai ordered. "Prepare for impact." The dreadnought fired. A colossal beam of concentrated energy tore through space, striking the Valkyrian with a thunderous explosion. The ship shook violently, systems flickering, but the Warborn ship did not falter. Its living metal hull absorbed the impact, healing wounds almost as fast as they opened. Kai gritted his teeth. "Return fire. Focus on disabling their weapons." The Valkyrian unleashed everything it had, plasma lances, pulse cannons, and missile salvos, hammering the dreadnought until it was crippled, drifting lifeless in space. As the remaining Concord ships retreated, broken and bleeding, Kai stood tall on the command deck. His voice carried a promise to the stars. "We are awake. We are the Warborn. And this is only the beginning." The Valkyrian's engines flared as it surged forward, ready to hunt down the fleeing fleet. The Warborn had tasted victory, and their battle fury would not be quenched. The void around Mars burned with fire and shattered metal, a chaotic ballet of destruction as the Warborn and Galactic Concord fleets clashed in a deadly dance. The Valkyrian led the charge, its colossal silhouette weaving through debris fields and broken ships, relentless and merciless. Kai stood at the helm, every sense sharpened. The thrill of battle surged through him like a storm, each explosion a drumbeat in the ancestral symphony coursing through his veins. His warriors were no longer mere survivors. They were predators, born of blood and battle. "Boarding pods, inbound," Lyra warned, her voice tense. "Conquered Marines are desperate. They want to take us down from within." Kai's eyes flicked to the tactical display, dozens of pods streaking toward the Valkyrian. He nodded sharply. Deploy countermeasures, and prepare boarding squads. We fight on all fronts. Corridors within the Valkyrian became death traps as squads of warborn warriors intercepted the invaders. The clash was brutal and close, metal against metal, plasma against bone. Each hallway echoed with the roar of combat and the clash of blades. Kai led a squad down a narrow passage, plasma blade glowing as he cut through conquered marines. The air was thick with smoke and the metallic tang of blood. He moved like a force of nature, swift, precise, and utterly ruthless. Press forward, he commanded. We take no prisoners. Despite the chaos, the Valkyrian remained a fortress in the void. Its living metal hull repaired breaches almost as fast as they appeared, and automated turrets tore into enemy boarding parties with lethal accuracy. Outside, the battle escalated. The Concord fleet, desperate and disorganized, unleashed volleys of missiles and plasma bolts. The Valkyrian danced through the storm, weaving between blasts and retaliating with devastating counterattacks. Kai's comm crackled. Commander, a Dreadnought-class ship is locking onto us with a new weapon. Plasma. Torpedoes. Impact in 90 seconds. His jaw clenched. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Divert all power to forward shields and weapon systems. The Valkyrian arced through space, dodging the incoming plasma torpedoes by the narrowest margins. Explosions bloomed in the distance as enemy missiles found targets elsewhere. The warborn pilot's skill was unmatched, a deadly harmony of instinct and training. On the command deck, Lyra monitored the boarding squads. They're pushing hard, trying to overwhelm us, she said. But the warborn hold the line. Kai nodded grimly. Good. We're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting to reclaim our legacy. As the battle raged, the Valkyrian's pulse cannons found their mark on the dreadnought. The enemy ship shuddered violently, systems failing one by one under the relentless assault. With a final barrage, the dreadnought exploded in a fiery bloom, debris scattering into the void. The Concord fleet, leaderless and battered, began to retreat in disarray. Kai's voice rang through the ship. Victory is ours today, but the war is far from over. Prepare for immediate jump to Sol system. We have worlds to reclaim. The warborn cheered, their voices a thunderous chorus of triumph and fury. The ancient fire within them burned brighter than ever, a beacon for the stars. As the Valkyrian prepared for the jump, Kai stood before the viewport, gazing at the battlefield left behind. The wreckage of the conquered fleet was a graveyard of their arrogance. We are the warborn, he whispered, and the galaxy will remember our wrath. With a roar, the ship leapt into the void, plunging toward the next chapter in humanity's furious resurgence. The jump from Mars to the Sol system was like a breath drawn deep after centuries of suffocation. The Valkyrian emerged from the void with a quiet fury, its engines humming softly against the backdrop of distant stars. Ahead lay Earth's cradle, scarred and silent, waiting to be reclaimed. Kai stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the hollow map as the ship approached the inner planets. Report, he ordered. Multiple fleets detected, Lyra replied, brows furrowed. The Galactic conquered, has established garrisons around Earth and the asteroid belt. Their forces are spread but well defended. Kai's lips pressed into a thin line. Then we hit them fast and hard. The warborn take no prisoners and show no mercy. We reclaim our home and send a message to the stars. The Valkyrian descended, through Earth's upper atmosphere with a roar, its imposing frame casting a shadow over the blue-green planet. Communications channels were flooded with warnings and demands, but Kai had no intention of negotiation. On the surface, remnants of humanity's old colonies stirred. In isolated bunkers and hidden enclaves, warborn survivors listened to the rising roar of their kin ships, hope rekindling in their hearts. The first strike hit the asteroid belt, a strategic hub for conquered forces and resource harvesting. The Valkyrian led a fleet of reclaimed warborn vessels, smaller, faster ships scrawled with tribal insignias and bristling with weapons adapted from fallen enemies. The battle was fierce. Concord frigates unleashed waves of plasma fire, but the Warborn fought with ferocity unmatched by any recorded history. Their tactics were unpredictable, combining brutal ancient combat techniques with cutting-edge technology. They fought like spirits possessed, a whirlwind of destruction. Kai personally led a boarding operation onto a Concord command frigate. The corridors of the enemy ship echoed with the clash of blades and gunfire. The Warborn pushed relentlessly, each victory a claim staked for their ancestors. Amid the chaos, a transmission crackled through the comms, an intercepted broadcast from the Galactic Council. Urgent, the message began. The humans, Warborn, are no longer dormant. They wield forgotten powers, uniting lost colonies and striking with lethal precision. The Council convenes an emergency session. This threat must be contained before it ignites a galactic war. Kai smirked as he listened. Let them gather. We will be the spark that burns their complacency. As the Warborn reclaimed more territory, whispers of alliances and betrayals spread through the conquered ranks. Some species, fearful of humanity's resurgence, sought parley. Others prepared for open war. Back on Earth, Kai landed with a small squad in a desolate city. The ruins spoke of forgotten wars and lost glory, but also of endurance. Here, the Warborn's ancestors had fought and died, and here their legacy would rise anew. Kai stood among the crumbling towers, raising his plasma blade high. We are the fury of Earth's blood, he declared. We are the Warborn. The galaxy will remember. Lyra approached, her voice steady. The Council's fleets will respond soon. Our time is limited. Kai nodded. Then we fight harder, faster, and with every ounce of rage we carry. This is our home, our war. As the stars watched silently, humanity's ancient fury blazed anew. A roaring tempest that would reshape the fate of the galaxy. The silence before the storm was shattered by the roar of 1,000 warships converging on the Sol system. The Galactic Concord's greatest fleets, a monstrous armada forged from the combined might of countless star systems, surged through the void with grim determination. Their mission was clear: extinguish the reborn humanity before their fury could consume the galaxy. But the Warborn were ready. Kai stood on the bridge of the Valkyrian, his eyes burning with ancient fire. Around him, the Warborn warriors prepared for the ultimate battle, a reckoning that would decide the fate of Earth and the future of mankind. Enemy fleet detected, Lyra announced, her voice steady but heavy. They outnumber us 5-1. Kai's jaw tightened. Numbers mean nothing to the Warborn. We fight not with the strength of armies, but with the fury of our ancestors. Let them come. The Valkyrian led the charge into the swirling maelstrom of starships. Plasma lances and pulse cannons lit the void like thunderbolts, ripping through enemy hulls. The Warborn fought with a ferocity born of centuries of silence, their rage manifesting in every strike, every tactical maneuver. Boarding pods launched in waves, and the Valkyrians' corridors once again became battlegrounds of blood and fire. Kai moved like a shadow, cutting through conquered marines with a savage grace, each swing of his plasma blade echoing the fury of Earth's ancient wars. In the heat of battle, Prometheus's voice cut through the chaos. Commander, the Council has deployed a superweapon, a gravity disruptor capable of destabilizing our ship's core integrity. Its firing solution locks in, Kai cursed under his breath. We cannot let that weapon fire. He turned to Lyra. Divert all power to engines. Prepare for a full assault on the Council flagship. We destroy that weapon or die trying. The Valkyrian surged forward, weaving through the battlefield with lethal precision. Flak and plasma tore at its shields, but the living metal hull absorbed and repaired. The Warborn ship was more than a vessel. It was a symbol of humanity's unyielding spirit. As they closed on the flagship, a massive gravity pulse rippled through space. The Valkyrian groaned under the strain, systems flickering, crew thrown to the deck. Yet the Warborn pressed on, fueled by desperation and fury. Kai led the boarding assault personally. The corridors of the Council flagship were a nightmare of shadows and gunfire, but the Warborn carved a path of destruction through the enemy ranks. At the heart of the ship, Kai faced the Council's supreme commander, a towering figure clad in armor that shimmered with arcane energy. Their duel was fierce and brutal, a clash of skill, will, and history. "You are but remnants of a forgotten age," the commander hissed. "Your fury will be your downfall." Kai's eyes blazed. "I am the fury of every ancestor who ever drew breath, and you will remember us." With a final devastating strike, Kai's blade pierced the commander's armor. The enemy fell, and the gravity disruptor began to destabilize. Lyra's voice crackled through the comms. "Core breach imminent. Evacuate." Kai and the Warborn fought their way back to the Valkyrian as the Council flagship erupted in a cataclysmic explosion, its remnants scattering across the void. The battle was won. The Galactic Concord's forces retreated, fractured and defeated. Across the galaxy, whispers of humanity's return spread. No longer ghosts or relics, but warriors awakened and unleashed. Kai stood on the Valkyrian's bridge, gazing out at the stars that had once seemed so distant. The Warborn had reclaimed their place, but the journey was just beginning. "We are awake," he said softly, "and our fury will shape the destiny of the stars." The ancient battle fury of mankind had erupted without mercy, and the galaxy would never be the same again.